name's Karen Bukes, and I am your host for the evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm wondering if some of you watched the interview I had with Dan Pelota, the chair of the county commissioners. I'm going to tell you, that was like trying to harness a tornado. That was not an easy interview. And I got a lot of feedback on that. Very interesting comments made. Let's see if Mr. Pelota keeps his promise and helps the town of Plymouth and cleans up county government. Okay, let's start the show by welcoming some of our great underwriters. Stoll's Cafe in Manomet, Brewster PC Solutions, Attorney Trifletti and Costa on Long Pond Road, and David and Kevin Gallerani, owners of Cape Auto Body and Service, location Samoset and Sandwich Street, right here in Plymouth. And don't forget, when you see us around town, stop and say hello. We'd love to talk with you. Tonight we have a number of my favorite people on the show. I have so much respect for both their departments and both these men. Please welcome the Plymouth, from the Plymouth Police Department,
Thank you.
Chief Mike Botieri. From the Plymouth Fire Department, Chief Ed Bradley, and Supervisor of the Street Crimes Unit, Sergeant Chris Butler. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I know you put in a long, hard day, and to come here is very much appreciated. And we like to have you here once a year, you know that, if at all possible, because you have a lot to tell the public, a lot of good things you've been doing, and we appreciate both your departments. Let's start by telling our viewers about your departments, how many is employed in each one, miles that you cover. Some people don't know how large Plymouth is. Keeping the departments up to date with continued education. Give us a rundown on that.
We'll start with the police.
Yes.
Our department, after receiving the authorization of 9 more officers at the last town meeting, we currently stand at 112 officers, and that's comprised of 21 superior officers or supervisors, sergeant and above, and 91 patrolmen. Within the 91 patrolmen, we have 4 school resource officers, where the town would pay for 2 of those, and the school department pays for 2. We have an extraordinary relationship with the Superintendent Maestas and the school department, so we share the cost of those officers in the schools. The department breaks down further with our detective division, where we have 6 detectives for regular crimes, 3 different pairs of detectives that do follow-up. We have a narcotics division specifically for Plymouth of 2 officers. We have a 3rd officer in Plymouth that's assigned to the DEA Cape Cod Task Force, Drug Task Force. So we're able to glean a lot of assistance from that agency by assigning that officer there. And as you mentioned, we have Sergeant Chris Butler here tonight, and he'll speak further about his unit, his street crimes unit that was established back in July of this year. I'm extremely proud of the work they've been doing for the last 5.5 months, and they've been extremely successful in combating the heroin issue, working with other agencies to do that as well. As far as training, we have yearly in-service training that's provided through the Municipal Police Training Committee. So the officers will do 1 full week there, and that encompasses first aid, first responder, firearms training, and then legal update, and then any type of newer topic that the Municipal Police Training Committee decides that should be instituted in that training. And then we have yearly recertification for breathalyzer machine, those type of things, taser, different equipment. We do keep our officers trained to the degree that we're happy that we're able to do that. Where is the training facility, Mike? The training facility for the in-service training is right behind the police station at the Sheriff's Department. Oh. Yeah, the Municipal Police Training Committee leases a portion of that, and they conduct a Plymouth Police Academy there. And there's currently an academy running right now in, I believe, maybe week 16 or 15 or 16. We have 13 of our officers in there. They'll be graduating in February. Excellent. Congratulations. Thank you. And Ed, how about you?
Plymouth Fire Department is comprised of 123 sworn firefighters plus another 5 civilian that work on radios, communication equipment, 2 mechanics keep the apparatus in good shape. And then emergency management is a division of the Plymouth Fire Department, and that employs another 2 full-time person, the emergency management director and his assistant that work out of the EOC. The EOC is in addition onto our Cedarville Fire Station, Station 6, where our 123 people are split up over 4 working groups, so there's always someone on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including Christmas and New Year's.
Yep.
And then on top of that, we have a fire prevention and code enforcement division that has 2 people, in it, and a training officer, a training and safety officer who does a lot of work with the hospitals and the fire academy. We go through regular medical training on a regular basis. Of every 3 months they take another module, so they keep up with that. We have impact classes that are available to us from the Massachusetts Fire Academy. They come down. All of our new hires go to the recruit training class in Stowe. I have 2 of them that will be starting a class December 29th this year. They'll be graduating in late March.
Oh, good.
And the crews, when they're on duty, have to document 2 hours worth of training each and every day. That's why sometimes you'll see them out with the trucks if that particular day is working with ladders or pumps or other type of rescue equipment. Other times it's whatever the topic is from one of the IFSTA manuals. We also have a number of classes that go on during the year from the insurance company. MIA provides us with some training, including the driver simulator, which they'll be coming around again this year. And that's to keep their skills sharp, operating that heavy equipment that they're running around town with. As a matter of fact, I believe the police are going to take part in the driver simulator, this one coming up. They got a brand new one. It's quite an elaborate machine. It's very expensive. And we cover in, obviously, the largest city or town in Massachusetts area-wise.
Yes.
So we have some long response times just due to that fact. And we've got forest fire threat, obviously. We've got a nuclear power plant.
Yeah, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you.
Plenty of ponds and oceans. So there's
and
all
little
kinds of,
dirt roads.
Yes.
You know, both police and fire have to patrol those, and it's mind-boggling to me because it's such a large area. But I'd like right now for you, Mike, to introduce your supervisor to the Street Crimes Unit. And I was very pleased to meet him. What a great guy he is.
Sure. Sergeant Chris Butler is a uniform sergeant with the police department. And when we established this program, I was ecstatic that he was interested in doing it. He's one of our top quality officers as well as supervisors. So I'm happy to introduce Chris. He runs that unit. He can tell you more about it. Right now it stands as a 7-man unit, and we could increase and work on that, but right now it's a 7-man unit including himself, and he can discuss some of the assignments that they've done. And like I said earlier, I'm extremely proud of the work they've done over the last 5.5 months. So this is Sergeant Chris Butler, the supervisor of the Street Crimes Unit.
Thank you, Chief. As the Chief said, I supervise the Street Crimes Unit for the town of Plymouth. I have 6 patrolmen that work with me full-time. We primarily work at night, an evening shift that helps us cover a lot of the open establishments as far as bars, restaurants and everything, especially in the town area. Our primary focus is dealing with street level issues as far as drug dealing, disturbances, any type of altercations that may happen in the downtown area. I have right now assigned to me, out of the 6 people, one of them is assigned also as a drug canine dog that rides with us, which is very helpful when we're dealing with some of these interactions with people, either selling or buying narcotics. I have 6 great guys and 1 female, very proactive, but the ability to speak to people, to talk to people, and we had a very active summer. We started the first week in July. To this date, we've had about 190 arrests. About a quarter of those were drug or alcohol related. A large number of warrant arrests for different offenses, from a simple type of a warrant up to aggravated rape. We kind of prided ourselves in being able to follow up on those warrants and take care of those. We dealt with a lot of the nuisance type crimes during the summer, especially in the evening hours when the bars were closing. Restaurants were closing. A lot of the disturbances that that troubled the neighbors there and the restaurant and shop owners down in that area. And we tried to really focus on getting people out of the area quickly, quietly, take care of any disturbances early in the evening before they became bigger problems.
Right, and the heroin problem is out of control, and you, although I understand that you're getting a great handle on this and have made inroads, tell us about it.
The heroin problem in the town of Plymouth is obviously, I don't know if you'd categorize as epidemic proportions, but clearly it's a problem here. There are certain areas in the town that might be considered an open-air drug market. By going there, even not necessarily knowing who the person you're buying from, you'd be able to buy the product of your choice, and right now that seems to be heroin. The result of that, unfortunately, and I'm sure the chief will touch on that in a bit, is the overdose problem, which seems to be going hand in hand with this product. But what we've been trying to do is identify these areas, the common players in this area, and be able to do the street level type interdiction. They're not long investigations. We're not using informants or any kind of control buys, but we're doing more just the immediacy when we're seeing something, just acting on it right there and being able to make quality arrests just from our observations while we're out there.
You have a very hard, dangerous job, and I commend you for it. Your unit, the entire police and fire department. It's not easy, and I'm sure you're trained and will continue to be trained. What can the public do to help you without getting involved physically? If they see something, should they say something, and would you keep their confidence?
Absolutely. Like you touched on, would never want somebody to intervene
Right.
if they see something. I would never want anybody to put themselves in any kind of danger. That's our responsibility. Information for us is usually key. People that can identify areas that they're seeing something, license plate descriptions of people, descriptions of vehicles, and provide that to us is a tremendous help. Even with the 7 of us out there, we can only cover certain areas of town. We may not be able to identify every place that needs our attention. By being able to tell us certain times of day, certain areas, certain people that are involved in this type of activity, it would be a tremendous help for us.
Do you, and I know it's probably financial, but do you believe that every one of you should have a canine police dog?
The canine is an amazing tool that we can use.
Yeah.
It is just a tool, just like everything else that we carry with us. But it gives us an advantage being able to use her to identify, people, locations of drugs. That actually helps us establish the probable cause that we need to make the arrest at sometimes.
I just read a little while ago that a police dog was given a medal for its heroism, and I thoroughly believe that. They're trained and be a family member. I think you all should have one.
We have 3 dogs assigned to our department right now. The one that's assigned to us strictly does drugs and missing persons. The other 2 are more of a patrol dog type feature. All 3 great canine handlers. They bring the dogs home with them every single day.
Yes.
They're responsible for them 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Whether on days off, if when the rest of us have a head cold, they're still dealing with their partner every single
Right.
day,
Right.
and they do a great job at that.
Right? Yes, Mike.
I think it's important to differentiate between what Sergeant Butler's unit, his street crimes unit, and I think what traditionally people see as a narcotics unit. Because the narcotics unit, and I think that Sergeant Butler touched on it, they're doing long-term investigations. And there's always been, and we've talked on this show before, about the frustration of the public saying, geez, we know they're dealing drugs out of that house. Well, it takes us, it's a long-term investigation to prove it, and to get a search warrant, it's quite a task. So Chris's unit is a lot different. His unit is basically to strike. Immediate, be able to come in and stop those crimes from occurring. And I think it's important to say, while I'm impressed by the statistics of how many arrests the unit's made for different things, those 50 or 60 arrests they've made for drugs, those are people doing drugs open air, open parking lots and driveways, downtown, in alleyways and bathrooms.
It's quick.
And what's what's been an issue for the police over the last several years is the change in the laws, the change in 2009 where hypodermic needles are now legal. That was a tool for us to arrest someone, charge them with the possession of the needle, and maybe get them some help. The change in the law that says if someone's actively overdosing and they call, we can't charge them with possession. Now, I understand the law and it makes sense because we don't want people to not call for help because they're afraid of being charged. But that doesn't help us any. We've had some cases recently where we've had someone who's overdosed and the fire department or a Brewster ambulance will provide Narcan, and within 24 hours they're back out and we're Narcanning them again. So there was no intervention there. So what we're missing is, and what Chris's unit can bring to the table is the ability to bring those people forward. And it's not just to arrest them and throw away the key.
Oh, I know.
It's not, no, because these are kids, these are relatives, these are family members, these are young, 20, 18, 19, 20-year-old, all the way into their 30s and 40s. These are young people that are making mistakes. So what we needed, if we could get out there, and in all of Chris's arrests, those aren't people actively overdosing. Those are people his unit are finding doing drugs. Now we can get them in the system, charge them with possession, and get them into the drug court. We have a very successful drug court. Judge Minahan runs in Plymouth.
Oh, Minahan.
One of only two. Quincy has one and we have one, and it's very successful, and it really does change lives. So I like to look at the statistic while I report, and I'm real happy with the 190 arrests. Those 50 people that we arrest for the possession, if we get them into the court and they qualify for the drug court, and there's a success story of one or two of them, those are families that we've just given their child back to them. That's a huge thing for us. Chris's unit's doing that. That's what they're doing. That's different than what the narcotics officers are doing. Man, in the world today, in Massachusetts is a very permissive state. You know, we legalized to a degree, decriminalized marijuana, which sends a message to the young people that, you know, maybe it's okay and maybe drugs are okay and those type of issues. You know, the state has, like I say, had the Good Samaritan law where we can't charge them with the heroin. They've legalized hypodermic needles. They've lowered the distance that you can charge someone with dealing within a school zone from 1,000 yards to 300.
Really?
They have.
I did not.
They've lowered the trafficking weight of heroin from 14 ounces. They raised it to 18, not ounces, grams, 14 grams to 18 grams. We're going in a permissive direction, this state, and that makes it more difficult for us. And we're not going to give up. We're going to continue to march forward. We're going to continue to do these things. But that's the main reason that I see, and that's that we looked at this street crimes unit. They can do what no one else can. As a chief, and Chief Bradley will tell you the same thing, we're constantly getting calls from people and from politicians who hear it and local officials that hear, you know, here's an issue, we're having a problem. The uniform officers are very busy responding to calls. That's our primary goal, is to get there if you need us, a 911 call in a timely fashion. Our detectives are doing follow-up investigations and those type of things. This unit can clearly be directed. And I think Sergeant Butler will tell you, over the last 5 months, the captain and I have taken him aside and said, here's a task. We're having an issue with a homeless issue here, we need you to fix it. We're having an issue with his drugs here, we need you to look at it. They're free to go and look at it. And having that unit is invaluable. So I just want to point out that his group is saving lives. And there are people already today that have turned the corner, are in rehab, and are being successful because we were able to find them in an alleyway, you know, possessing and doing heroin. So there are some big things that his group's doing.
And you know, for him to be chosen, he must have the right stuff, and his unit must have the right stuff to do what they're doing.
Absolutely, and when we put this unit together, we first placed Chris in the position, and he was involved in choosing his team.
Yeah.
We think that was very important.
Very important.
And these people we chose are, you know, self-motivators. They don't need a lot of supervision, although Chris is there to put them in the right direction and make sure things are done. Now, we have to have a lot of faith in these officers. You cannot just put anybody there.
And trust.
A lot of trust. And I have the ultimate trust in Chris to run the team, or he wouldn't be there.
Oh, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, very, 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 very impressed with the unit.
I'm impressed with him when he walked in. You could tell right away. Yeah. You got a goodie there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And now, Ed, you have Narcan on the trucks.
Yes, all of the apparatus are equipped with 2 doses of Narcan, and we keep plenty of stock for redistribution when it's used. That's been since early March of this year.
So when there is a call for help, is it the police come first and you have the Narcan? Is that how it goes?
Well, typically what will happen is because the police are out on patrol and already
Yeah.
in their cars, they will get to a scene quicker,
Yeah.
especially in the northern part of town. Down south, if it's close to one of the fire stations, the fire department may get there sooner. But because they're already mobile and moving, yeah, they'll get there quicker. And there's things, they have medical kits with them, they can start CPR,
Yeah.
breathing, rescue breathing for them.
Who else are you going to call? I mean, all our employees are the face of the town, and whether you go to the library or town hall or the police, the fire department, who else is there for you? I'd like to see it done without you. It cannot be done. So I am very grateful, and there are many, many people like me that are very grateful that you're all there, every one of you.
And that's one of the reasons why we impress upon our personnel that, some of these people, this may be the only time they interact with you. They may only dial 911 once in their lifetime.
In their life.
Make sure that
Thank God.
Yeah, make sure that they remember it as a, you were professional, courteous, and you took care of the problem as efficiently as possible.
Yeah. I had one problem way back when I went to work and came home and the whole downstairs was flooded. Unbelievable, down to the cellar, up to almost your hips in the cellar. So this had been going from when I left. The fire department came. They were the greatest. I am telling you, they calmed me down. Kenny wasn't home.
Where's Kenny when you need him?
I know, Rhode Island. He was working. But it was wonderful what they did. And there wasn't one drop left on anywhere when they left. I mean, who are you going to call when you need them? So it's appreciated. Now, there's so many things that's done, and I know you're involved in this too, the White Horse Beach, the new signage. How is that working out?
Well, they did work on, have a committee and a group. I think it was led by Mike Gallo, the assistant town manager.
Yeah.
Mike did a great job with that. And he dealt with at least 2 or 3 groups, I believe there are down there. And some of those groups, it's difficult to work in one area with more than one group when they have some disagreement within the neighborhood. But Mike did a great job and came up with a program and a decision where certain areas were marked for no parking.
Yeah.
I think the program went very well. We tracked it all summer, and we would continually keep Mike in the loop as far as what we were finding for vehicles that were towed and citations that were written. So I think some of the issues were that the violation for the no parking is $15, and we were finding that some people are willing to pay a ticket to park. So,
Yeah, it's too low.
I think we need to look at that. So I think as a group we are looking at it.
Good.
Like I say, and Mike is still spearheading that group. But I think it was a success this year because people were able to park a lot better, and there was at least some clear delineation of parking down there where in the past there really hadn't been.
I saw it better, much better layout of the street this summer. Now, the 3rd of July, you're both down there. Yes. I heard it went very well this year.
Yeah, I think we've gotten, 3 good years now. What we were striving to do is to return it to a family event by making it more difficult for the troublemakers to want to be there. They don't want to be there if every time they turn around and they see a police officer or the officers on bikes, motorcycles.
Right.
They couldn't act up, and they didn't get a chance to act up. And if there was any issues, there was plenty of people around to do it. So
yeah, it's been extraordinarily successful, and we said this years ago. I first made chief 6 years ago. And in the first couple of years, we met with the groups down there, and we talked about it. And, quite frankly, we weren't too successful the first couple of years. I'll be the first to say it. We had a couple of plans that in the past, the beach area had always been kind of taken over by the people that came from out of town.
Yeah.
And then the strategy of the police back then was a little bit more where when it got bad, we would try to take the beach back, and that's just not a good strategy, okay? So over the years, we first tried to control the beach by placing vehicles out there with officers in the area, and that didn't work well. So we basically just take the beach early. We have our officers down there early. We have assistance of the Sheriff's Department, State Police helicopter. We set up a command post. And the officers take control early. We have them down there. We actually feed all of our officers.
I know you
We
do.
feed all the Sheriff's Department officers. We feed everyone, so they're not off trying to get something to eat, something to drink. So
And
we
the
have
people down there are wonderful. They let you come in.
They do. They let us use their areas, let us use their bathrooms. They feed us.
Electricity.
Citizens Police Academy, the Citizens
Yeah.
Alumni Academy provides the food and actually does the cookout with the grill.
Yes.
And so it's really a controlled environment where everyone gets to eat, they're fed, and then they go on the beach. And we've controlled that beach, and I think Ed's correct when he says the last 3 years. I think it's just gotten better and
Not
better.
a
We
peep.
really feel like we have good control, and families are coming up to us, and you can see them going down there with their grandkids saying to us, geez, a few years ago I would never be able to bring my grandkids
Right.
down there. So we're really extremely, satisfied that we've made a difference there. So
Very much so. Now that it's paved, do you find that they're speeding?
well, when you pave an area like that, especially a straightaway like that, you're always going to get increased, speeders. So we'll put our monitoring traffic monitor down there, so people will educate. So it'll tell them how fast they're going, and we're hoping. The key to the speeding down there is a lot of times the people that end up going fast are either visitors or people that live in the
Yeah.
area. So we like to educate first. So you put those monitors out, and we like to think someone's driving home and they say, wow, I'm going 15 miles over the speed limit, I should slow down.
You do pay
Yeah.
attention.
And you'll pay attention when you
Yeah.
see that, and then we'll follow that up with enforcement
Yeah.
after that. So we've been pretty successful with that.
Some people down there want speed bumps. You think you'll ever get speed bumps? Or I mean, I don't think
Well, the town over the last several years has made it pretty clear that they really don't want to put speed bumps on straightaways like that. There is a speed bump and there is a speed hump.
A hump, yes.
So a speed hump is more of more of a roadway
Yeah.
that's open, and the hump is
Yeah.
a lot more extended. Where if you go at a certain speed, you're going to kind of bounce your vehicle and hit
Yeah.
your bottom. Whereas a speed bump, you have to slow to go over it. So
Yeah.
speed humps is what they're looking to have. I think the DPW would have to look at that really closely, and I think that they're discouraged against it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure he is. Yeah. So, which brings me downtown. I will say, I'm not going to ask you a question. I think that the Rotary's too big. And I look at it, and at first I said, my God, how can a fire truck get around this? And I think they changed it. Yep, they had to change it. A police car going, and you have to go fast sometimes. Now they got to maneuver through that. It's just me. I think it's too big. But I'm going to take this opportunity to thank David Gould for getting that bridge fixed on Water Street, because it was David Gould. He got the grant money for that. And I think that it was sublet, it was subcontracted, and whatever. But we're hoping that it will get back open soon.
It should be open soon.
Yeah. So now, Ed, I understand there's going to be a fundraiser for one of the firefighters, and his family at Memorial Hall, April 4th.
Yes, it's going to be the comedy night for Colarusso.
Yes.
Firefighter Tony Colarusso is an 8-year member of the department. During the summer, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and it has been spreading. Of course, they've been doing treatments, but at this point in time, he probably will have to retire from the department. So the guys have gotten together, and they've put together a comedy night for him.
I hope everybody goes. I do, and because every single penny is going to this family. Every
Yes.
single penny.
Yes.
Not one penny of the comedians taking. The hall is not. It's a true fundraiser. So, and I will say more about it as we get closer to remind people.
Thank you.
But it's important, and that's a work hazard, isn't it, Ed?
Certain types of cancer are a hazard to firefighters, they found out over the years, and some of them have been classified as presumption presumptive cancers. It's not an easy thing to prove, and there's a lot of work and time that goes into it. But if it's found to be one of those, then it would be a job-related.
Yeah.
And it's because of the particles, combustion, the smoke, the toxic. And they're working in it all the time. It's either get on their skin, it's on their turnout gear. We have specialized cleaning equipment in all the station for their gear, but they don't get back right away. Obviously, they can't stop right away and go back. They sometimes go from call to call. So it's been realized nationwide that it's a problem. And,
yes, it is.
It's a hazard to firefighters.
I think the police department should have some sort of program like that also, because you go into very dangerous buildings there, you know, and I hope that happens for you, because that is the hazard of the job. And we know things happen. So now, Mike, and maybe even, well, I think this is Mike. Do you have any security concerns with the proposed Plymouth South High School?
Well, we've worked hand in hand with them. It's a good opportunity when you get a new school like that to come in and make sure that you put the measures in that you want. We had that opportunity with the Plymouth North High School. We were able to secure an area for our school resource officer. We worked very closely with the camera system that's placed in there. We're just finishing up our project that we got from town meeting last year of around $600,000 to put cameras in all the schools and town buildings.
Yeah.
Those cameras are all in place, and we're all very, very close to activating that system. So we're going to be working closely with them. As far as security concerns, we're always looking at how the halls are built and different areas that would be of concern, that maybe a little darker, or areas where people can hide. So we work very closely with the schools. We have safety meetings monthly. We just had one Tuesday. We bring all our SROs. The school resource officers are there. We have a day shift sergeant, Bob Ferguson, who works with the school resource officers, and he basically coordinates all the lockdown drills that we have. So we feel like we've gone quite a good distance as far as working closely with them for security. So there are no real major concerns that I would identify at this point. Just to say that feel confident that we're working closely with the schools, and they keep us in the loop as far as any decisions that are made. They really do.
They really do.
Yep, they do.
And will security be armed? I think they should be.
Security?
Will your resource officer be armed?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, full uniformed officers with a marked cruiser.
Good.
So they'll be stationed there just like the other high school and the two middle schools.
It's a different world. It really is.
Yes.
It's just so upsetting. In lockdown, I was brought through by Gary to show me exactly what a lockdown was.
Sure.
And it was fabulous what they do.
Yeah, we've actually, over the last few years, we've been able to develop it slowly, and we actually have lockdown drills, and we have what we call real-time lockdown drills. Real-time lockdown drills, we actually put in a person, a detective usually, an assailant in the school, and we test to see if the administrators or the teachers will question them. And once they do, we actually activate the program, and we'll go to the school, we'll actually search for, locate, and take that person out as an actual drill. We're practicing moving people from one area to another. So there are a lot of things. I think what people have to realize, and I heard this mentioned a long time ago in the training program that I had taken with the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and they were talking about the concept across the country of when seconds count, the police are minutes away. And if you think about that, it's very interesting, okay? Because you need us when you need us. Okay, we want to be there as soon as we can, and we will be. We're very good at that when it comes to 911 calls. We will be there, but sometimes seconds count. And when it comes to a situation, God forbid it ever happens in our schools or any of our buildings, seconds do count. So we are working for measures, towards measures where people can do some things to self-protect themselves as far as where they place themselves, and just to have them think a little bit more that way. So it's too bad we have to go that way, but that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. And how about the students, Mike and Ed? Are they being trained into, let's say, students, they get depressed or whatever it is, adults get depressed. And are they aware of what to look for, what to see, maybe something is said, and to help them, to ask for help?
Yeah, there's the program in the school, and the SROs are highly involved in the training and in the discussions, and we'll go to any training that they need us to go to. And they talk about, like anything else, you see something, say something. that we need to know. We need people to come forward. We need to know if children are being bullied. I mean, these are the children these are the problem children that we want to know about. And if you look back to Newtown and all the different school shootings and incidents we've had, what has come out of that is we can always look back at that child or that shooter or that individual and find indicators as to, and we all sit back and say we should have known and those type of things. No one is collecting all those points. You might have a student that has a depression issue and is seeing a doctor for it, and the parent knows that. You might have one who has been arrested by the police and charged with possession of burglarious tools or some type of explosive devices, and all different indicators. You might have someone that, at the medical doctor's office, something was said, maybe something at school, maybe the neighbors hear something, maybe on the school bus. No one collects all of those things. If we had someone that could collect all those things, we might be able to identify problems before they happen, and that's what we're trying to get our school resource officers to be that person. If we have a situation at the police department tonight, let's say it has to do anything, a domestic at a household, and it has to do with a school-age child, the next day, the captain will read it, Captain Rogers of Operations will read it, school resource officers will read the log over, and we will call that school and say, we were at Jimmy Joe's house last night. We arrested their father for this. You should watch him today. He's just a young child. He's in school. He's not going to be on his game, and he's going to be distracted. We have a great relationship with the schools. We make those calls on a daily basis to the schools. So we're really connected with them.
That's
we're proud of that.
Absolutely wonderful. It has to be, unfortunately. Ed, have you seen the plans for the school? Are the roads wide enough in there for you to get in?
Yes. As with any plan, especially on a commercial building in town, they come through us for review, and then we work with the architects and the designers and the contractors to get it finished so that it meets all the state building codes and fire codes, and as well as any of our local needs.
Okay,
so
good.
We stay right on that.
The fire codes, yeah. And Sergeant Butler, you, your area, I forgot to ask you, is downtown you said, but are you talking North Plymouth?
We deal, actually, any place in the town of Plymouth that
in the town
that we receive information. We've had many arrests in Cedarville, in the Manamet area.
Okay.
Just by population, obviously the town area, as far as the restaurants, the bars, and everything, it's a lot more prevalent there. North Plymouth and sections of West Plymouth and everything, as far as some of the drug problems, is where we've really been concentrating. And that just takes more of our attention than
I think you need a bigger unit. I really do. Yeah, he does. I mean, you're still working off of, and you too, Ed, you're working with low capacity. Have you come up there yet? You should have a department of 130, right? Mike?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We should be 130 with the population the size of the community. That's the goal.
You're 112?
We're at 112, and I will say right now we're happy to be there because we were at 102.
Yeah, oh, I know, I remember.
We were at 102 not long ago. We were at 100 and then 103 and now 112.
That cannot happen again.
So we're working in the right direction.
It's taken years to get back.
But we still have a ways to go. Yeah, we do have still a ways to go.
You're on demand.
Go ahead.
You know,
You
where's Ed?
Yeah.
No, where's Ed?
Oh,
No,
that's Ken.
No,
That's
you're on demand.
Yeah, so we have less manpower now than we had years ago. When we lost some over the years, we didn't gain them all back.
Yeah.
And we have some plans going forwards to make up for some of that. Right now, but if you compare the two departments, even I have told the town manager and a number of the selectmen that the police department is much more undermanned than the fire department is. They need the attention right now. But as we're getting busier and busier and more building going on, and just the sheer number of
And
runs.
pushed further out.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to have the manpower. You can't be at a call in North Plymouth, God forbid, and have all heck break loose in the southern sector, and
Right.
it's very hard because people need you when they need you.
I mean, relative to the street crimes unit that Sergeant Butler commands, and talking about the areas, he's right. I mean, as these different issues arise, we're able to go to that unit for support. And I'll point out one instance where they were invaluable. we had a situation where there were several shots fired into different households up at Chapel Hill
Yes.
Drive.
I read
And that was
about it.
happening, I think there were a dozen times within the last several
I
months.
know.
Very difficult to solve. I'm
But you
surprised we put it
did.
together. Now, the Street Crimes Unit was able to work on that, go door to door, collect information. The actual solving of that case was a uniform officer, Ben Dexter. He did an extraordinary job. We decided to put people up there during that time frame
Yes.
between midnight and 3. He was very vigilant. He stayed there. He actually was in the wooded area watching, and he just watched him and watched, and he actually observed the shot fired from the
shot
vehicle.
fired.
And we were able to make an arrest, and we're extraordinarily happy. But what I would say, Ben Dexter, Officer Dexter, did an excellent job. He was given a letter of commendation, and
Yeah,
he really deserved it for his
absolutely.
vigilance. But part of that is those are the type of things we need Chris's unit to their availability. We
Yeah.
need to be able to say, this is what's happening, so his guys can focus on it, not get a call for service, not be pulled away. A group of dedicated officers that he has, where they can come up with some brainstorming on how to
Stealth.
solve those things. And they can go in stealth. They're out there, they're in the public. We can also make them visible, and that's what's great about the
Yeah.
unit. They have pullover jerseys and shirts and vests and hats and things that clearly identify them as Plymouth Police Street Crimes officers. So, at nighttime, in the summertime, especially Friday, Saturday night at midnight at 12:30, you're going to see them down there, and
Yeah.
that takes a burden off the uniform officers.
Yeah.
They can continue to do their calls and be ready to go to a 911 call. So they'll be visual as well. So it's just an extraordinary unit that way.
Well, I love Captain Rogers, and when you were a captain, Captain Botieri,
That's right.
you were seen everywhere. You went to the neighborhood watches. You did everything in your power. You were a people person, and that went a long way.
Well, we project that, and that's what our department is all about. I mean, that's what we did. I did that when I was a captain. Captain Rogers continues to do that.
Yeah.
And Sergeant Butler's the same type of person.
Yeah.
We want to be out there. We want to go to these meetings. We want to see these people. We just went to a coffee up Algonquin, Captain Rogers and I. They have a day morning where they have coffee there. So we stop in, we spend 20 minutes. It means a lot to the people.
It does.
We're able to kind of talk a little bit. We got some information. We had some instances up there where we had a couple of shootings, Chris.
Yes, sir.
And Chris's officers were involved in those things, and we needed to get information. And people are afraid. I understand that. But we need to be able to go in there and lend them some type of protection. And we're able to say, point us in the right direction, and we'll find a different way to prove it. We don't need to expose you. And we were able to get a lot of information that way. But I think it's because we go there, we sit there, and we have a cup of coffee with them.
Well, I'll tell you, if you have both departments build the trust within the community, of course you will be trusted too, and they will speak to you, they will talk to you.
Yeah, we see that.
You do see
do.
that.
I mean, what we're seeing now, and we've talked about it a little bit, but I want to make sure we get this in. And Chief Bradley can talk a little more on statistics, but I can tell you we've had in Plymouth, since January, we've had 12 deaths. One as recent as 2 nights ago. We're seeing an extraordinary amount of people overdosing, and I'll let Chief Bradley give you the actual numbers. I'll just tell you that we have had 12 deaths that we have attributed to heroin overdosing. We're trying to connect together as to, are they connected, where are the drugs coming from, and those type of things. And we're working very closely with the DEA and the different task force. We're seeing things that are extraordinary. People that have not taken heroin for a long time, according to family members, go out one night, come home, and they overdose. There's some type of an issue where there's a mixture of fentanyl in there. Fentanyl is an end-life.
Yes.
Fentanyl is a drug that is prescribed to end-of-life people.
Yes.
To ease their pain.
Yeah.
It's extraordinarily powerful, and people aren't able to function and handle that. We're seeing people. One last example, and then maybe Ed can talk a little bit about the statistics. We had a young lady, 20, 21 years old, at a red light in Plymouth a few days ago, and when the light turned green, she'd put a needle in her arm, and then she drove a little off the road. Some good Samaritans came up, put the car in drive, got her out. My officer did CPR. I'm not sure if we did Narcan when the fire got there. And she survived, but that's where we're at.
It's
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. These are young people making these mistakes, and they are so hooked that even at a red light, this young woman made a decision to put a needle in her arm at the red light.
And the families are devastated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, they are. And
So you can talk about the statistics, Ed.
quite a bit, you know, that they're at wit's ends also. We had one that we revived with Narcan, and it lived at home with his parents, and as they were doing CPR on him, waiting for the Narcan to take effect, the parents mentioned to one of my guys that that's the third time they've seen CPR done to that child. And you know, there's not enough programs or not enough beds out there to help these kids, and it's not like alcohol, where you know a program of maybe 30 days or even shorter than that can help you out.
And now a pill.
These are long-term programs that they're going to be successful. And there was one that I talked to. He's doing great now. He hasn't had drugs for more than 2 years, and he got to heroin because he drank a lot. And when he woke up in the morning, he had a terrible hangover, and that led him to relieve that by one of his friends gave him heroin, and then he couldn't stop. But he did get a chance to go up to New Hampshire, and he spent a number of months up there.
You have to.
Yes, it takes a long period of time.
Which brings me to this, and you fellas helped my committee tremendously, the Revenue Idea Task Force. And I asked you for statistics. And you, I mean, my God, Ed, you were like a little jackrabbit there on your computer. I don't know. It was unbelievable. And you too, Mike. It was the trips that you have to make to High Point is alarming.
Yes.
And per day.
Yes.
Yeah, the calls for service at different locations, like High Point, like the Beth Israel Deaconess Jordan Hospital. You know, we expect that and we understand that. And I will say we work very closely with them. We've forged some great relationships. We meet monthly with both of those groups, talk about internal policies and procedures, and work greatly with that. And you can even look at box stores. Box stores comes in, you know, you'll come in, your Walmart, your Kohl's. You know, with those stores come issues. With those issues, there's an impact on both police and fire. You know, and back when Chief Palmer was here, I remember him doing a study when Walmart was coming in, and he had said just to cover Walmart, you need to hire, I think it was maybe 1.5 offices. That would be a full-time, 1.5 offices working an entire year would be tied up. Their time would be tied up handling the issues and the impact of one Walmart building.
And I caught, you know, a lot of young kids stealing cigarettes when they used to sell them.
Sure. So there is an impact, great impact on services.
I mean, those type of facilities are great to have in town until
Yeah.
they're available to you, but you're right, there's an impact that goes along with that. Like you said, you see our vlog, we're there at least daily, sometimes 3 or 4 times a
I
day.
couldn't, and you know, the fire and the police, and the other place is people have to understand you are our first responders. You are called first. I think you're called first, and the town manager's called, and then the selectmen. But you have to be there. And one of those places is Entergy. Now, Entergy's security has changed, but have you sat down with them to speak to them to bring back the security that they used to have out front?
Yeah, well, I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the actual security gate, the booth that they had.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, if a police officer goes out to Entergy and say somebody's on the property, that's a 3-day event, right? Because you have to make a report, and another officer goes with him, and what it can be involved.
The impact could be great. The impact of going to the nuclear plant and actually making an arrest, especially a planned arrest of several people that want to make a point against nuclear power. That is quite a burden on the department, because it's not just processing a dozen arrests, it's court cases afterwards, and they really want their day in court. So we're committed to the officers going to court, all the different cases, and doing all the work. I think the point you mentioned about the gate, there was a booth set up where there was always a security guard in that gate. And we've had some conversations with them about that, and that had gone away. And you know, my feeling at the time, and I've discussed it with them and the Nuclear Matters Committee, was that just having the officer there is a deterrent. Okay? Because let's face it, most of the people that trespass on the plant are there because they're terrorists, and they're really not terrorists. We know that for a fact. But there's an impact on us. So I always thought that if they had someone at that gate to at least turn people around, they wouldn't have to call us. Once they go in and they're close to the plant, there's a protocol. And we want to go. We want to identify them because we don't want to miss anybody.
Right.
So we have strict protocols on the fact that we document who's there. We don't make arrests all the time if it makes sense. If we can't identify them, we have a hard time with their ID, we might end up making an arrest. So it kind of goes both ways, but it's a great impact on the department.
I know they have cameras. I know that they, you know, keep vigilant, but that necessitates a call to the police and fire.
So what they've done on that gate, I want to make sure I get this in, because meeting with them, they're very proactive and work well with us. They have an extraordinary security force there, well-trained. They have more officers than I have on the department. Okay.
Wow.
So they're well trained, they're well armed.
Yeah.
And
I
they do
know
a great
that.
job.
Yeah.
What they've done to help us on that issue is they've increased the signage. They put much bigger signs so people will clearly see the sign and hopefully turn around. And they've committed to me that if that works, we can move forward. And if there's other things we can do to change, they're willing to do it. So
all right.
while there's a great impact on my department as well as Ed's, they are open to suggestion, and they've been very, very good with us. So
Okay.
I'm very supportive of their security force. They are extraordinarily well trained.
I've seen them.
Yeah, they're
I've been
very
in
well
there.
trained.
I know that. And now Kenny and I, Ed, have a monoxide equipment in the house.
Carbon monoxide detectors.
Carbon monoxide detectors.
Yes.
What's the lifespan of those?
When they first came out, they were good for about 3 years. Shortly after that, they were manufactured and they had about a 5-year lifespan. They're up to about 7, although there's some newer ones coming out that just came out in the market. They also have a 10-year, with a 10-year battery and a 10-year lifespan for the unit
I
itself.
think it's time for us to get more. We have them upstairs and down. I think it's time.
It should be replaced, right?
It should
yeah.
be replaced, Kenny.
Ken, do you hear that?
Well, the sensor that's in there that's absorbing the carbon monoxide that's going to give you the alarm constantly is absorbing it. Eventually, it gets to the point where it's saturated, and it isn't something that will last forever. So they do have to be replaced.
No, we bought a fire alarm. Now we're not hard. We used to be hardwired into the house, and we did the house over, so we get the other things. And we bought this fire alarm that was going off constantly, and it was upstairs. It wasn't by the stove. It was unbelievable. It would just go off random. Remember, I called you once.
Yes,
What's going on? Finally, I said, Kenny, we have to throw this thing away. It had a mind of its own.
Yeah.
Nothing was going on. So we did, and we got other ones. But it's so important.
Yes, that's.
Are all the new homes being built with this?
Yes, they have carbon monoxide and smoke detectors. A lot of them are dual detectors.
Do you get a lot of false alarms?
No, if they're old, like even a smoke detector is only good for 10 years. And then, like any other electronic equipment, they have to be replaced.
Yeah.
If they get old, they're not maintained, we get some alarms. Certain times of the year, some of the carbon monoxide detectors will give a lot of false alarms, and it's only because of, in the springtime when you have an awful lot of pollen around and you get those damp days.
It gets clogged.
Yeah, you can get some issues with that. But the equipment nowadays, compared to when they first came out in 1977, they're a lot more efficient now.
Sophisticated.
And a lot less
Yeah, I think
problems
it's
with them.
time, because I don't know if it's working or not. It never goes off. So how can I make it go off? I don't want to make it go off. Now, the false alarms, and Mike, are you finding a lot of homeless not in the homes?
Well, the homeless issue that we do a yearly count. Once again, the Street Crimes Unit helps us with that, but we do a count for Father Bills and Mainstream. They're a wonderful program.
Yeah, I know
they
they
look to
are.
not just get people off the street for the night. They look to relocate them, get them jobs, get them benefits. So that's a wonderful thing. So we know they're out there. We've identified them. We do what we can to get them to their local churches, but obviously that's a difficult thing. During this time of year, each weekend we have a program where one of the churches is open for them, so we know where to bring them if we need them, get them out of the cold. So.
Yeah, I see them. What about pedophiles?
You mean level 3 class offenders?
Yeah.
Sex offenders. We have our share, like everyone does. We have a good amount of level 2 sex offenders in Plymouth. I will say we have an excellent program where we know where they are at all times. We know where they work.
Remember the guy that was going around in the bus?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we check them. The Sex Offender Registry Board recommends that you check your level 3 sex offenders twice a year. We check them. We check them 6 times a year. Every 2 months, a
Wow,
detective's
good for
assigned.
you.
We knock on the door. We say hello. Here we
Yeah.
are. And it's level 2 sex offenders with shift change 3 times a year. Uniform officers
Yeah.
will go to the house.
So you go
they know
above.
we know where they're there, and
Yeah.
that's the best we can do.
Very
Obviously,
good.
they have a right, but
Very good.
before we end, if I could do a
I can't believe we got 4 minutes. Go ahead.
make a plug for the. We have a candlelight vigil coming up.
Oh, yes, please,
the
Mike.
candlelight vigil is being run by Kim Hillman, and Kim is the lead. And I spoke with her earlier today, and we'll be attending that. It'll be held. It's a group called America's Hometown Against Heroin.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful group of people that they want to make a difference. They want to identify this. They're going to talk about the people we lost this year.
Yeah.
I believe they're going to name them and talk a little bit about the stories. And it's being held on Sunday at 4:30, and it'll be at the United Methodist Church, and that is at 29 Carver Road. in
Okay,
Plymouth.
that's
At
this
4:30
Sunday.
This Sunday. So it'll be a candlelight vigil. There'll be a few people speaking, and they're going to
Okay.
identify the problem.
And the
So-
public is welcome.
Public is welcome. As far as I'm concerned, I spoke with her today. They're hoping for a great showing.
Good.
I'll be there, to say a few words, and she's going to be there to identify the several people that we've lost. So, America's Hometown Against Heroin.
America's Hometown Against Heroin. The United Methodist Church, Carver Road, this Sunday, 4:30.
Great, thank you.
I cannot thank you enough for coming. I know you guys put in a very long day, and here you sit. It's so important for you, and I know you feel the same way. I'm a huge supporter of your departments, and I wish you well. I wish you safety, and if you ever need something, give me a call.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate it.
I know.
Thank you very much.
Now, I won't be here till next year. Next week is PAC TV's Christmas party. They do this every year. It's a wonderful thing they do. And I will see you in January, but Talk of the Town will be here. And I so appreciate you tuning in. I really do. See you next year. Happy holidays. That went by in a blink.